Okie doke, fourth grade. So this is going to be Monday's lesson 15.1, where we will be learning about lines, rays, and angles. There's a few things I need you to get out for this lesson before we start, and that is I need you to tear out of your math book page 773 and 775. The next thing I need you to get out is your math notebook where we used to take notes in math. Yes, we are going to take notes for this lesson. They're pretty quick, and I promise you they will help tremendously on your lesson. So go ahead, get those few things out for me, and we will get started. Go ahead and pause the video if I'm going or moving too quickly. All right, we're going to pretend that this piece of paper here is my math notebook because Mrs. Schmidt left her math notebook at the grade school and I don't have time to run and grab it. So we are going to pretend that this is mine. So we're going to learn about a few different things, okay? One is a point. Pretty simple. I'm going to have you draw it. Then we're going to tell what its name is, or how to identify it. Okay, that's a point. Let's go up here and we'll write up at the top. We'll write lines, rays, and that's my and sign, angles. You can spell out and, or you can do an and sign. So that's a point. A point shows an exact location in space. Next, we're gonna have a line. We're going to name this point A and this point B. And a line goes straight through the points and has arrows on either end. We call that a line. We would name this line by writing the letters AB with a line and two arrows overhead. Next is a line segment. So I don't want you guys to get confused. So from now on, I'm going to start skipping lines, and I recommend you guys doing that too. We're going to name this point X and this point Y. And a line segment, the difference between these two is that it does not go on and on forever. Okay, it has two end points. We call this a line segment. I like to think of a line segment as just part of the line. It doesn't go on forever in either direction. We would name this by saying XY with a line over the top. Then we've kind of got a combination of the two. I'm going to skip a line. We're going to name this point A, and this point B. We're going to put a line with one arrow. Notice how it starts at A and goes through B. This is called a ray. Okay, and we would name it ray AB with one arrow. Now the ray could go the other direction as well, so don't get confused. You could have a ray that starts here with B and goes through A, but a ray always just has one line. It's kind of the combination between the two. Okay, next we have angles. So this was all about lines. Now we've got our angles, and angles are my favorite. So to have an angle, okay, it has several points. We're not going to name the points, but here is an angle. And this one you a lot of times see with a little square. Do you know what kind of an angle that is? It's the angle that you find four of them in a square. You'd find four of them in a rectangle. This is a right angle. Okay, I think of this one as just kind of, it makes the corner of a square. That's how you can remember a right angle. Makes the corner of a square. Then we've got this really big angle. Oops, my lines aren't very straight. But we call this big angle an obtuse angle. I wish we were in the classroom. I would totally be making you make angles out of your arms. We'd have our right angle and our big obtuse angle. And then we have a little skinny little angle. And I remember this angle because it's little, and I would say that it's the cutest. This is called an acute angle. This is just an introduction lesson to all of this, so don't worry. All we're going to be doing is identifying these things. And the last angle that we have, the last note for today, is called a straight angle. And that one's real easy to remember because it's a straight line. If we were going to continue, we'd talk kind of about the different measurements of these, but right now I just really want you to be able to identify what these are. I'll tell you, probably the hardest is going to be naming and identifying these lines, line segment, and rays. But what I want you to do is I want you to just relax. If you need help, get on with me and I'll kind of explain it. But let's take a look at the guided practice. Okay, keeping this piece of notebook paper out to the side. So what you're going to be doing, what your lesson's going to ask you guys to be doing, is you're going to be looking at different angles, different lines, different segments. So like number 4, you have line segment PX. So it wants us to use the geometric terms to describe what is shown. So these are just the terms. So this is like we're just naming. This is a line segment. Remember, you can match it to what you see in your notes. A line segment doesn't have arrows on either end. It just stops. It's a segment of that line. Here, we've kind of got the square in the corner. That makes a right angle. Here we've got one end point and one arrow. This would be classified as a ray. And here we've got an angle. It doesn't have the square and it's much, much smaller and it's very cute. We would call this an acute angle. We'll continue. When they talk about your geometric terms, that is what we've taken notes on. All of these are geometric terms. So here we've got the big, big angle, big and wide. We'd call this the obtuse angle. Here again, very similar to 4, no, both 2 endpoints, no lines. We'd have this called a line segment. Here we have a ray. I'm not really sure. They're kind of repeating themselves because here we kind of have a different, they look a little different, but they both have the squares in the corner. One's going one direction, one's going the other. This is still a right angle. Some of your other assignment, you'll be identifying, and then you're going to use the diagram to name. They're going to ask you to name. Look here, 4, okay? 4 line segments. So remember, a line segment, if you forget, you just look here. A line segment has 2 points. So it means we're looking for something that has no arrows, okay? Just 2 points. And sometimes what you'll notice is there are arrows, but you can change what you call it by how you label it. Okay, a line segment, the way you label it is just with a straight line above it. So we could say, okay, from P to Q is a line segment. So we would say P, Q, line segment. Where's another line segment? You could start here at Q and go from Q to T. That's a line segment, Q, T. You could even go from Q to R, right? There's both end points. What about, could you go from R to Q or name it from Q to P? Absolutely. But since they're looking for 4 line segments, I'm going to give one that's a little different. I'm going to go down here to T, and we could go and name TS, or we could name TU. But whichever is fine with me. But remember, you name that line segment by making a line on the top. Now, if we want to do rays, remember a ray has a end point and a arrow. So we've got ray TU. And the way I would describe that is I'd put an arrow at the end. Do you see that? Okay, if you imagined that this part being cut off, TU, and there's a line, that's a ray. We could say ray, we have one up here, PR. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm saying. QR. What about from Q to P and from T to S? Those would be other rays. Now the right angles. Okay, what makes like a corner of a square, a corner of a rectangle? This comes down to me and looks like the corner of a rectangle. So to name the right angles and to name the angles, you would want to say, you would draw a little angle. You would name each of the points. So you could say Q, T, U. We would say angle. That was one. So now we could go in a different direction. We could go somewhere completely different. I'm just going to go in a different direction. We also have a right angle right here with Q, T, S. All right. So what we're going to do is we'll take a look at the front page of your homework assignment. I will tell you that that is the only part of your homework assignment. I'm just going to have you do the front. I want you to work really hard in naming these. Okay, these will be, number 4 will be 3 points, number 5, 2 points, and number 6, 2 points. Okay, looking at what are you naming? Remember, how do you name angles? You have to use the angle. Guys, if you have questions, because I know this is new, I know this might be tough, please get on with me or even ask me during one of our classes and we can go over it, okay? Good luck, and I will see you guys later.